that you left the bodies and you only moved the headstone!
Hey there, welcome to another edition of the Sunday Scaries. I'm your host Mike, and today I'm going to be talking about 1982's Poltergeist. And I'm talking about this film mostly because my wife, she was at work and one of her coworkers asked if I've ever seen Poltergeist, which if you're a true horror fan, you have to see the original Poltergeist. And she asked if I was going to do a review, so I kind of got amped up and decided to do a review on this one, which is one of the earlier horror films that I ever saw growing up. Because it does have that PG rating, even though it's definitely not a PG film, but they didn't have PG-13 ratings back in the day. This film was directed by Tobe Hooper, and Steven Spielberg was the producer and apparently wrote the story. I've heard mixed things on how much he actually wrote the script or wrote the concepts in the story. And before you even hop into it, it has to be known the importance of this film. This is kind of the blueprint for all paranormal movies that would follow. And it's the classic, it's a haunted house, there's these ghosts, someone gets abducted, you have this like telepathic kind of sidekick or side character to help the family find the person that's been abducted. It's all that kind of stuff that you would see in future films like Paranormal Activity and Insidious and other films. Honestly, even The Conjuring a little bit has that kind of feel to it, even though The Conjuring is based on, or loosely based on, a true story. But this is the original to sort of tackle that formula. And it's done terrifically throughout the film. If you have not seen the movie, I will have some spoilers in here, so please warning in advance. But the film takes place in this town in California, and this new community is being built. And this realtor, him and his family moved into one of the new houses, and it seems like he's fairly successful. His wife works at home, they have 3 kids, and one's in her mid-teens, other grade school, and the other one's just kind of like entering that kindergarten-ish age range, right? And they get into this house and all these weird things start happening. They're having static TV. The little girl somehow thinks she's talking to somebody through the TV. There's this big earthquake, and then all of a sudden the house just starts getting haunted and weird things start happening. And over the course of these different weird events, this little girl disappears, and the family is just devastated. They're trying to find their little girl. They can't figure out exactly what's going on, and through their desperation, they finally reach out to this psychic, and she comes and she has a team with her, but she can kind of communicate with those who have moved on, and she's able to indicate the house is haunted by multiple spirits and their little girl got abducted by a malevolent soul. She's going to help them get the kid back. As the story unfolds, it turns out that these houses were actually built on a cemetery, and the builders lied and they said they took the bodies out and they didn't. And so you have all these pissed off spirits who are now in a state of unrest because their graves have been disturbed, and this family suffering for it, and probably other families would suffer for it as this story continues. And that's the general gist of Poltergeist, and it's a ton of fun. The graphics actually aged fairly well. And I gotta say, it's one of those great classic films. Now, when we're tackling themes, the first one is this is a haunted house, and unlike Aliens, which is a spaceship that's sort of being haunted because of this monster that's in it, this is actually a haunted house. There's dead people whose spirits are causing weird stuff to happen. This little girl's abducted, and that makes the whole atmosphere so creepy in this, because at any time, anything can happen in this house. You don't know exactly where the spirits are. They can make a chair move. They can open a portal and grab a little kid and suck them into their world. They can possess different toys and different things. So the whole house, anything goes when people are in it, and that is such a cool atmosphere that, and a lot of other movies have tried to emulate, as I stated earlier in the video, but this one's just the original as far as the way they go about it. I know Alien predates this movie, but this is kind of the one that modernized the haunted house that, again, all other films would copy moving forward. And piggybacking off the haunted house, just the fact there are these disrespected spirits that are angry and now can cause havoc on people, that's a really neat concept, and there's a lot of layers to it. Now, there's the scary aspect of these spirits are trying to hurt, or at least one of these spirits are trying to hurt this family, But there's another aspect of the idea that most people, regardless of your different culture or belief system, most people believe there's a way you're supposed to respect a dead person, and you're supposed to put a body to rest. And some cultures it's to bury and have some type of ceremony or ritual for. Other cultures it may be cremation. Whatever it is, though, you're supposed to do something respectful with the body. And that's why throughout human history, with wars, a lot of times bodies are disrespected when one side doesn't respect the other side. And that's seen as such a horrible thing. And so you have that going on in this film with the ghosts. And you kind of feel sorry that their graves were disturbed. But then on the flip side, knowing that they're angry spirits and you can't really kill something that's already dead, what a terrifying just concept that is. And that moves into the next aspect of, parents and siblings try to struggle with a sibling that's been kidnapped and taken from them and trying to find them. The family doesn't really understand what's going on early on in the film, and even though it's apparent something paranormal is happening, there's also some of that we don't want to believe this kicking in. And so, they're just struggling that their child's missing and there's nothing they can do. They're trying to find her, but they don't know how. And to make it worse, the little girl's still able to loosely communicate with them, and it's clear, she's in pain and she's suffering wherever she is. And, just seeing the parents especially be so helpless and trying to save their little girl, but not being able to do anything about it, and kind of offering her empty words of it'll be okay when they're communicating with her, but they literally have no idea what's going on. And I think this is a really relatable concept, especially for parents. But even people that are not parents, just the idea that somebody that you love has been taken and you want to get them back, but you can't. And this movie does such a good job of tugging on those heartstrings and making it believable. And then that ties into one other theme I just really love about this film. And I could get into all different things. I could tackle more of the paranormal activity stuff with the psychic and her team and how neat they are. But, this whole concept of the dad especially doesn't want to believe in any of this stuff. It's very clear he got caught up in something that he does not understand. And his reaction to everything is kind of poorly once his little girl disappears. And even though he's trying his best, he doesn't want to believe that a ghost could have kidnapped his daughter. And I think a lot of people can relate to getting caught up in something very quickly that maybe you don't understand, and how you don't always react and be the best version of yourself, and how helpless that can make you feel. And the dad in this, I feel for so much. I know at times you can kind of be like, oh, he's being a dick or he's not handling that well. But at the same time, just imagine like not believing in ghosts, not believing in spirits, and then one actually kidnapping someone you love. That would be such a difficult situation to put yourself in. And I know it's not realistic, it's a movie, this is fiction, but think about any documentary you've seen where a family is talking about their family member being kidnapped or being murdered, and what was going on in their heads during those situations. There's this like disbelief and they don't know how to react. And a lot of times people just don't make good choices in those situations. And Poltergeist does a great job of really capturing that with the father. And the last thing every horror movie needs is a good monster or a good villain. And in this movie, the evil spirit is horrible. They call him the Beast, and it's very obvious, like, unlike the other spirits, he's here to harm people. And once he kidnaps the little girl, he's actually trying to use her life force to harm other spirits, or at least that's kind of what it's alluded to. A little confusing in the communication. It's just an evil, malevolent spirit. And in future films, you'll get into his backstory, but even without it, just a terrifying monster. And when he does come at night and attacks the family, when the psychic's there, I mean, it's just such a trip. And I love the graphics in it. And I love also just the ghost hands early in the film when he's trying to grab the little girl and she walks away. But this villain makes such a really creepy atmosphere on top of all the other things. And he's a lot of fun in this film as all the chaos goes on. And even though you don't get a ton of his personality in it, his lack of personality actually in this works a lot better than I think in future films where you get a ton of dialogue with him and face time because he takes on a human body in future films. But in this one, I think it's the most creepy version of the evil spirit. All right, so let's get into the rankings. And you know, when I was 7 or 8, again, my parents let me watch this movie. It was PG rating. You know, they grew up liking this film, and you know, I was so excited to see it. I actually remember we went to the movie store, we got it, we brought it back, and you know, it was the VHS days, and they put in the wrong VHS, so it was actually the second movie. And so I was so bummed because we had to wait till the next day to drive back to the movie store, switch it out. We didn't watch the second movie first, but I remember being so disappointed. And then when we did watch this movie for the first time, I was just so scared as a child, and I was probably a little young to watch it, but hey, whatever, right? I doubt my wife's watching this right now, but this is how I'm going to educate my kids on a little bit of horror. With that said, you know, I do give it a 5 out of 5. I mean, this is a classic. It's done very well paced. The story has very few plot holes, and you know, it's just entertaining from start to finish. And you got a great cast of characters. For its time, it was original. And there's not a lot of negative you can really say about this film. As far as the fun meter, I also give it a 5 out of 5. And I didn't talk a ton about all the characters in this, but they are so much fun. I mean, the dad is crazy when he's wigging out, but he's also so fun early in the film when he's, you know, doing his fat skinny thing with his belly. He's like sucking in his gut and sticking it out, you know, because he's not as in good a shape as when they first got married over, you know, 16 years ago or whatever they say in the film. But he's great. The mom, she's so caring and loving, and you gotta just love her tenacity in getting the daughter back. The psychic, she's so good. The little girl, Carol Ann, that actress, she just knocked out of the part with the, you know, they're here in the creepy way. And then you got the two, you know, sidekicks of the psychic who are helping her, and they're having all sorts of issues as the house is getting haunted, and they're trying to catch things on camera. And, you know, then the psychic, she's so good and so brave. And again, future characters will be based off her in other franchises. I mean, to say, especially in Insidious, the woman in Insidious that helps them find their child, there's zero chance she's not a complete carbon copy of the psychic in this film. I mean, everything about them is almost exactly the same. So, ton of fun though. Love the characters, love the story. And if you've not seen Poltergeist and you want just a chill, fun horror movie to watch, put this one in. Watch it at night. Don't watch it during the day. Put all the lights off. And, you know, I think it's held up pretty well for a 1980s horror film. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Please subscribe and like if you have not already. And always, you know, leave a comment. I love hearing your thoughts on the films I review and what you got out of them. You know, I just offer a few themes in each film, and I don't do a complete breakdown, but I know there's all sorts of stuff in these horror movies to dissect. So, you know, leave a comment and tell me what you got out of Poltergeist. And with that said, me and my wife should be moving around the time this video drops. So hopefully the house we just bought is not on top of a bunch of dead bodies that were not disclosed to us. But yeah, as long as that's not the case, work doesn't seem so bad tomorrow. Hope you guys have a good week.